How long do we think that we can just ignore God and everything be okay? I want to talk about that. In our culture today, the very most important thing is God. And that one thing that's the very most important thing to everyone's life seems to be and I don't want to say thing, God is not a thing, but the very most important relationship we should have with God seems to be in our culture the relationship that we neglect the most. It's as if we want God out of everything. In our culture, it's almost as if we want God nowhere around us. Lord, forgive us. How long do we think, as Americans, we can just ignore the things of God and be okay? How long do we think God puts up with us? How long do we think do we just think that God turns a blind eye to everything that we do? Our God is a God of intelligence. He's far more intelligent than we are. Our God is a God who is holy. And our God wants us, not just wants us, He commands us to make Him the most important thing in our lives. How long do we as a nation think that we can just ignore Him and it'll be okay? We think that we have all the time to get right with God. We think that God does not care. How long do we think as Americans we can just ignore God? God has been very, very good to our nation, which is self-explanatory. How long will it be before we turn back unto our Creator? What do we got to go through as a nation? Do you think that God is not trying to get our attention through all the things that we're going through? Do we have to lose our whole nation? And many nations have failed. The Roman Empire thought it would be always here forever. And the Roman Empire is gone. The Assyrian Empire, the Babylonian Empire, the Persian Empire thought that they would be around forever. But they are gone, they're out of existence. How long do we as Americans think that we'll be around doing whatever we want to do and God is not important? God wants to be our most important relationship. He is our most important relationship, whether we realize it or not. I want to talk to the people of God, those who call themselves Christians, those who have like faith as me. How long do we think as Christians that we can just somehow just lackadaisically have a relationship with God? What I mean by that is, I went to church today, I went to church on Sunday, I'm okay. How long do we think we can just placate God and just put Him off before things in our nation turn critical? God wants us to have a passionate relationship with Him, a loving relationship with Him. He does not like us to just play with Him, just like a wife does not want you to just play with her. She wants a relationship, a passionate one with you. Our God desires us to have He desires a passionate relationship because He loves us. He loves us intensely. And we are at best in our culture. I'm talking to the church. And even in the churches, we see a lukewarm, unpassionate, uncaring relationship that we carry on with God and think it's okay. Basically, we're going through the motions as Christians. If Christians would take God more seriously, I believe it would change this nation. If Christians, oh God, if we would fall on our face before God, if we would turn unto Him, if we would change our ways. 2 Chronicles 7:14, I believe it says, if my people, which are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven. Then will I heal their land and forgive their sins. I paraphrase that. But God is calling us, He says, if. This is the if-then clause. If my people turn unto me, then I will heal their land. Isn't our land divided enough as Americans? God says, if you turn unto me, then I will. if then. But we act nonchalantly and have a very nonchalant attitude towards God. Forgive us. Our God ultimately one day will bring a punishment upon our nation, and he currently is. He currently is trying to get our attention because he loves us like a good parent does. Tries to turn us around. If you think that we're dealing with all this confusion and all this mess in politics in our country and all that stuff going on in the White House and our families and all the mess pouring through our television, if you think this is not a judgment, I think that you're mistaken, for this is a judgment. This is in no way the way a healthy society works. How long do we think we can go on is my only question, ignoring God. We serve an awesome God, a powerful God, a loving God. Oh yes, he does love us, but he loves us so much that he will correct us. We don't want to face the fact that God will correct. He's a God of correction. He's a God of judgment also. We love to hear about the love of God, but we don't want to hear about the God of judgment. Ultimately, there is a hell, which is the ultimate judgment. There is a place that God has in store for those who will not receive his Christ, and that place is called hell. I know that's not popular. I know nobody wants to hear that. I know I'm supposed to apologize, but the Bible doesn't apologize. The Bible does not apologize. There is a real place called hell, and if you are not a believer, and if you do not put your trust in God, I say it with hurting my heart, desiring no man go there, but you will find yourself in this horrible place called hell. And that's just the truth. We cannot just preach his love, even though he's loving. We cannot just preach that he's forgiving. Even though he's forgiving, he's also a God of judgment and correction. Help us, Lord. Help us. Oh, as Americans, we're so prideful. We think that we're okay. We think that the government's gonna help us and gonna save us sometimes. We think that our military is so strong that we can do almost anything we want. We think that we are not dependent upon God, but we are very dependent upon him. We are so dependent upon him. If God didn't want your heart to beat, your heart would not beat. You cannot catch your breath going down the freeway with your mouth open. If God said no more breath for you, that's no more breath for you. Your heart would stop. We are so dependent on him. If God said I don't want no more food to be produced, we're over, we're finished. If God said I want no more water here, I want to provide no more water, he's so much God that even the oceans have to dry up at his command. Our God is an awesome God. And we are so dependent upon him, yet we play as though he does not exist. How long will we do this? I just want to ask us all a question. How long will we act as though God is not important? For this is, if the Bible is correct, and I know that it is, this is the key root of all of our problems. We have a nation in disarray. We have a nation in moral decay. Oh my goodness, I ain't seen such depravity around me. I've been living 43 years and I ain't seen such depravity in all of my life. This new generation that's coming up. This new generation that's coming up is scary. It's even scarier than my generation. How long do we do this? How long do we act this? All of these things that we're doing in our culture has an effect. There's a cause and a effect action. I'm scared of what's coming up because we're raising up a generation that does not know God. And that's a scary generation because a nation that does not know God does not have morals. A nation that does not know God does what's right in its own eyes. When men do what's right in their own eyes, they treat people wrong. How long do we do this? That's my question, the only question I have. How long do we act as though God is not important?